Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Gold Week. We decided with the current trend in gold prices and the great Canadian junior gold stories, we would dedicate a week to gold. We are very excited to start our week with CEO Christopher Anderson from Ximen Mining, a story that our own Sophie Caesar has been working with for over the past year. For those of you who don't know Ximen, they are a Canadian publicly traded gold and mineral exploration company who trade under their ticker symbol XIM on the Venture Exchange. Ximen's focused on being the next significant high-grade gold producer in southern British Columbia as it advances its flagship property, the Kenville Gold Mine, production. They recently announced their drill plans for 2020, and the market seems very happy with the news release over the weekend. Chris, thanks for joining us. Good to see you again, and I'm looking forward to your presentation. Go ahead.
Well, thank you very much for the introduction, Paul, and thank you everybody for joining us today. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to hear our story. So Ximen Mining is a company, we're focused on high-grade precious metal assets located in southern British Columbia. We like to buy the assets 100%. We like to buy out the NSRs, and we're looking at going into production if we can manage to do that this year. So anyways, there's actually a shot of the mine site. We had a couple of visitors there last year, a couple of little grizzly bears that circulate through. Here's our disclosure statement. And here's our share structure. We've been doing some acquisitions in the area lately. If you go over their news releases over the last month or so, we, in light of our progress, we decided that what we would do is we would do a land assembly in the area. And so we've made several deals and picked up quite a bit of ground. I think in our news release we put out on Friday, our holdings are somewhere in the neighborhood of close to 150,000 acres in southern British Columbia. And so we've picked up several different holdings in and around the Kenville mine. We trade on the TSX under XIM, and in the US, XXMMF. We haven't started any marketing in the US, but we do have plans to do that shortly. And we've done most of our marketing in Germany and over in Europe. So we actually kicked off our marketing plans in 2008. But our projects, I'll just go through them quickly. You can see, starting from the left, Treasure Mountain Silver Project. We have that under option with another group. They pay us a little stock and cash. We have the Amelia Gold Mine that we've assembled. We've got all the crown grants, the surface rights, and the land package there. We're 100% owner of that, including the NSRs. And that was the second high-grade gold producer in the province. Very excited about that project, but we've got a lot of things on the go here. Then we've got the Gold Drop project. We've got quite a bit of land in the Greenwood camp, and that's an area that we look at getting some focus on this year and getting in there, doing some more drilling. We had optioned some ground off there a couple of years ago to another company. They've earned their way in there now, and they drilled a hole. We worked with them. We were the operator. It was 7.4 meters of 4 ounce. So it was an extremely good hole in there. Quite a bit of work left to do in there. And then we own the Brett Epithermal up to the left there. That was the lead project for the company until we acquired the Kenville. The Brett was a project that we paid several millions of dollars for. We own it 100%. We bought out all the NSRs. It's an epithermal project in southern BC. Was discovered in the early 80s, and it's had quite a bit of work done on it. It's got a drift put in. It's got over 180 diamond drill holes in there, 3,000 meters of RC drilling. It's had a bulk sample done on it. The drift is open. We're permitting that now to go in underground. We've reopened the portal, and we want to do some drilling in there to delineate some of the ore shoots in there. The Kenville Gold Mine, which you see over to the left there, we acquired that in the beginning of 2019. I'd been negotiating to acquire that asset for about 4 years, and finally last year in 2019, due to unfortunate circumstances with the private group that owned it, the president passed away, and we ended up doing a deal with the major creditor, converting them into stock in Ximen at 60 to 80 cents. We converted most of the private shareholders into Ximen shareholders. So going through it, we're in a very prolific gold area. The Nelson and Kenville project was actually staked in 1888, and it was the first gold mine ever put into production in BC. And our team that we've got working there are the, Lloyd Penner, who's our mine manager, was the last man to take ore out of there in the early 90s. And he was the gentleman that discovered the extension of the Kenville mine in in the late 1990s, and 2009. And I was just up there on the weekend. Actually, I just got back from there. So we're doing quite a bit of work up there. You can see there's been several million ounces in these camps. So we've been assembling land in the Nelson camp, the Solomon camp, the Greenwood camp. So we've got pretty good significant land holdings there. But our focus for the most part this year is the Kenville project. Again, it's high grade gold producer in southern BC. We're targeting half ounce on our project, half ounce and higher. Small, high grade. We want a low environmental footprint. We've got planned this year. We're just finalizing the plans for a permitting 1,200 meter decline, which will be moving into a bulk sample, 10,000 tons, half ounce material. And then we'll be ramping up to what we're looking to do is 125 ton a day, a half ounce for the next 15 years. And that we've got in our mines drilled off. It's non-43-101 compliant. There is a 43-101 resource estimate that was completed in 2009 on the property for an existing, I think, approximately 350,000 ounces. That is not exactly the gold that we're going after. It's some of it that'll be included in the bulk sample. But that's in the original portal. There's some gold in there, but we found a new zone that we're quite excited about. So on the property, we've got, I think we're up to about 160 acres in there, surface rights that we own. So we own the surface rights, the underground rights, all the buildings are intact. The picture down to the right is the previous mill site that was there. That's no longer there, but the buildings are all intact. We've got surveys done on the property. We've got complete excellent data base on the drilling that's been done from 1940 up to date. We've fixed up the site. All the buildings are in excellent shape. When we get into what we plan to do, I'm not sure if the pointer is here, but there you'll see some blue lines there. That was the previously existing Kenville mine. And then you'll see a red circle area there. That's the new area that's been drilled off from 2009 to about 2012. And that's the area there that we think we've got approximately 15 years of mine life of half ounce, 125 ton a day. That's the area that we're targeting. The decline that we're looking at putting in is, if you look to the left, you'll see the Kenville mine 257 level. We're going to start a decline there, and we're going to go through a forest of high-grade veins that are drilled on the left side there. And that's where we plan to pick up our bulk sample as we get down into the main zone. So we are going to be, that's from the start of the portal down to there, we got a 750 meter strike zone. And we're going in the middle of that at about the 750 level. So we're going in there in the middle of these forest of veins, and then we'll do about 10,000 meters of drilling in there to define the ore blocks, potentially to take out for the bulk sample. And as we're doing that, we'll be training the guys. Lloyd Penner, who's the mine manager here, was the last man to take ore out of there, was the gentleman that discovered the extension of the Kenville mine. He's operated in a lot of high-grade scenarios underground throughout BC, all over the world. So he's had a lot of training and training guides, and we've got an excellent workforce in the area that we want to tap into to train and ramp the guys up to mine there. We own all our own equipment, so we got some brand new equipment on site. We're all set for that. So our CapEx to get in there is mostly to manage cash flow as we start up our operations. The bulk sample again, all the engineering that was done in there was done by a gentleman named. We've hired some of the best firms that we could in BC. Paul Hughes and Associates was the ones that did our original engineering. Paul has now gone on to be the chief inspector for mining engineers for the province of BC, so he's actually approving his own work. We've hired Massey Environmental to do all our water baselines. That's all done. SRK to do our some metallurgy work. We've tied in with the Kootenay Dam, and so we're all we're green from that perspective. We're trying to eliminate diesel wherever possible on site. That's actually a shot of our transformers that we own, put in on the site. We have hydraulic, we own our own drills and everything, so everything will be hydraulic. We'll be running an air compressor at surface and running everything will be hydraulic off of green power. Again, this is another, just a cross section of some of the engineering showing where we're going and some of the whole areas that we're going into. You can see a lot of this material is ounce and higher, but we're expected to, our targeting is an average of a half ounce material, 125 ton a day. We've just completed a bunch of our met work, so we'll have some news coming out on the metallurgy and the recovery shortly as well. This will be the mill that we're taking it to. It's about 2 hours away. The capacity on the mill is 200 ton a day, and it only ran for a few months, so it's been shut down for quite some time. We've gone through the mill. We won't be much to restart it. We feel fairly confident about that. It's one of the only 2 mills in the province with a lined tailings pond. And again, it's a couple hours away from the Nelson Kenville mine, so we're excited about that. There's me drinking water out of the original portal that where the water flow has come out, the natural flow of the mountain. It's some of the best pristine drinking water in the province, completely benign. The host rock is actually tombstone granite. All the original workings from the late 1800s to date are still intact. It's fantastic. Great. As far as mining goes, you've got granite and then you got quartz. It's just a perfect scenario. It's one of the reasons why Lloyd has staked his career on trying to get this thing going. He's been around this thing since the early 90s, trying to get it back up and running after he discovered the new zone. I guess what else I got to say in here? Environmentally, it's good. We have no native issues because we own the surface rights and the underground rights. We've had our town hall meetings. Everyone's aware of where we're going with this. So I think there's no surprises there. We've got an excellent war room set up. And as I mentioned to you, we got a very good database, and all the drilling was done from the 1940s to today. And what we've got drilled off, it still continues, but we've got more than we need to handle at the moment. So present advantages, the initial underground project was originally permitted when we started. And then the government asked us to extend the permit. So we went through an upgraded permit process that we're in the final stages of doing now. And anyways, we're just making some final tweaks to that. There'll be some news about that. And we are doing some other work on the site, which there's other news coming here shortly. Again, we own the surface rights, the underground rights. We own our own transformers, excellent infrastructure, good roads, all paved. We actually have our own road called the Kenville Gold Mine. The host rock is extremely competent. We've got an excellent labor force in the area. We'll probably be one of the best paying companies in the area. Guys will be able to drive to work and drive home at night, so we don't need to build a camp. 15 minutes just outside of Nelson, actually. Yeah, so it's an excellent project. We think it's with a small environmental footprint, good clean water, excellent host rock, running off hydro dam. The only diesel will be on the one scoop that we'd be running down there at the moment. With that all up and running, doing good, it will allow us to go back and take a look at the Brett Ephitermal, which we think is the big elephant in the company. This we think is our multi-million ounce type target. We've spent since 2014, so over 6 years, late 2013 until today, in here acquiring and assembling the land and paying it all off. And again, we've opened up the portal, as you can see down in the left there. I've overseen $5 million of drilling in here myself. We've got good road structure all the way up. It was built for timber, but it's good solid road. It's gated. We have a cross section here showing the original portal that's opened up again. And there was a bulk sample done up to the top there. You can see 291 tons, 28 grams, so just over an ounce. When I'm talking in terms of gold, I'm not mentioning the silver, but the silver ratio is 2 to 1. And so just keep that in mind because it's actually a contributor to our overall costs. The best diamond drill hole in here that was done into what is considered the main shear zone, which is just actually one zone, is 55 feet of 1 ounce. There's a parallel structure that we have one hole into. It's 1.3 meters of 4.9 ounce. And then we've done in 2014, I did a big regional overview. I brought up a lot of the crew from Kinross down at Buckhorn to work with us. We did, regional. We drilled kilometers to the east and to the west. We were getting some big intersections of widely disseminated low grades, like 66 meters of like 1 gram plus material. So there's a lot of good gold in the system. Even the wall rock in here is running 3 grams. Again, there's the portal as it was. We reopened it, reopened the portal. So now we've got permits in there to go in and do a series of cross drilling from underground to hit a series of zones in there that we have targeted from surface. Here are some of the zones that we plan to be drilling in there. Again, we've got a good 3D model of this, and we've got a good database on all of this. And we're set up to go. We think it's a big exploration project, so we're hoping to use cash flow from the Kenville to help fund and expand this project here. Here's the Amelia gold project, which was the second gold producer put into production in BC. Again, the claim map to the top there isn't quite representative. We've filled in all the gaps in there, so we own all the mineral titles, all the crown grants, surface rights. We've put the package together completely. It's an excellent project. It's a company builder for another junior. So we're hoping to maybe find a partner on it or do a little, if we get some time, do some work on it ourselves. In relation to the Greenwood camp, it's in southern BC, so it's in the Republic Garden. It comes up from the US. You can see on the bottom picture that says the Amelia Gold Mine off there to the left. And to the right is the Greenwood camp. There's a black line in the center there. That was property that we optioned out to another company. And we are shareholders in that company, significant shareholders in that company. The ground around that is ground that we own 100%, and we plan on initiating a drill program on that pretty quick. I think we put news out on Friday. So we have a big land position in the Greenwood camp. There's lots of gold in there. I've been working in there since 2013. It's just a fantastic place to work. The mill that I showed you earlier is only about 5 clicks away from the project here. Again, going through the slides, we also have the Treasure Mountain Silver Project. We have 10,000 hectares there. It surrounds the Nicola mine, which is the past producing Halder Silver Project. It was put into production in 2013-14. And we own that 100%. We've optioned that off. So we've got a group in there that's been doing some work in there. They've got some cash and stock payments to make to us. And then we've got the Providence Gold Mine, which is in the Greenwood camp. This is, again, an area where we've done, the whole Greenwood camp is completely staked. So we've been in there working, looking at acquiring crown grants and building our land position in there. So there's quite a bit of news left to come there as well. You can see that it's all staked from the top right. You can see Ximen's ground in there. The Providence mine that we've been doing some work on, we got some good results on the ground the last couple of years. We're fully permitted there, permitted for trenching drilling, and so we'll probably see some work coming up there shortly. Again, in the management myself, been in the business since came in early 2000. was involved in a project on the East Coast that became it's permitted as one of the largest open pit tungsten mines outside of China. It's got its federal permits. It's going to production now, or on its way to production. Hunter Dickinson Group took that over. And then I worked with another group and we put a small gold mine into production in Cieneguita, Mexico, 500 ton a day, 3 grams material, and then moved into running our own operations. Scott Kent is an independent director. Roy Davis is a mining engineer we brought on side with us. Wesley is an economist. Nicolette Keith is our CFO. And we've got Dr. Matt Ball, who's been involved in several projects in southern BC and overseeing several different operations. He's our VP of Exploration. Peter Cooper, who is the gentleman responsible for bringing on the Buckhorn for Kinross. He's taken 3 of these epithermal type deposits and brought them into full scale production. Al Beaton was actually ran the Erickson Gold Mine, was one of the more profitable gold mines in southern BC. He also did the drift at the Brett. And Mohan Vamiri is a well-known epithermal geologist, works all over the world. He's been an advisor. Shervan Travelli is a mining engineer at UBC, an advisor to the company. And so we've been able to do tap into his, he runs a small engineering firm, and we've been able to tap into some of the new talent that have joined him out of UBC. Smart young guys that have helped us along the way. We've lost a few here and there because some of the major groups have picked them up, but now we have some smart engineers we know that are working for some of the major groups, which is quite handy. Alex McPherson is a longtime miner, is Al Beaton's partner. He actually mined the Dentonia mine in the Greenwood camp. He's been very instrumental in helping us work in the Greenwood camp. Just a high-grade gold miner in southern BC for many, many years now. Sean Dykes was the gentleman that wrote the last 43-101 on the Brett, and Sean has his own theories on the Brett and been very instrumental in helping us come up with some ideas. Dave Martin is a gentleman I've worked with since early 2000, and we developed the Sissenbrook deposit that I was mentioning earlier that Hunter Dickinson's taken over. And that's pretty much our team. And I think that's it. So if there's any questions.
Thank you, Chris. We actually do have a couple of questions. I'm going to run through them for you.
Okay.
Do you have enough cash to carry out all the mining phases, or will you partner with a big company?
That's a very good question. So we have, going through the development, as you can see, we've always had the ability to raise capital even in difficult times. We've brought on a couple of option partners who pay us stock and cash to help us keep afloat during the hard times. Right now we have, we've got a group that's given us a line of credit, or not credit, but we've got an $8 million credit facility. It's basically, we can make a call and it's converted into a private placement whenever we want. We've done several of those. I think we've drawn down about $1 million of that over the last 6 months. We've just brought on Laurentian Bank, LBS, to work with us. So we will be looking at doing some financings coming up here shortly. It'll be mostly to get the Kenville mine up and running. So I think we've got the technical team and the ability to raise the capital ourselves to move the project forward. And we're not looking for a lot of money really in the overall scheme of things for what we're planning to do. I hope that answers your question. Yeah.
There's another question here. What is the situation with regarding to hiring experienced underground miners?
Well, Alex McPherson, Al Beaton, and Lloyd Penner all have, and Matt Ball have been involved in mining operations all in southern BC, and have been involved in a lot of the projects. Al was the mining manager of the Nicola mine, which we surround with treasure. He's the one that did the Brett with Alex. They did the underground. Alex did the Dentonia mine in the Greenwood camp. Lloyd Penner has worked at all of those projects, including the Brett. And Lloyd has ran the QNR mill in southern BC. He's trained lots of guys. So we have lots of underground guys that do mining that are involved with us, and we also have an untapped resource of labor that have worked with all of these guys that are all anxious to get on board with us. We're excited about the opportunity of providing some high-paying jobs to some younger fellas in the Nelson area where they can buy a home, raise their family, drive 20 minutes to work and go home. Lloyd and Al and Alex have trained lots of these guys. So we do have a plan moving forward, a full detailed mining plan with executing on how we plan to bring guys in at stages and train them. And so we're set for that. So we don't feel there's any lack of knowledge in moving this project forward that way.
Excellent. Here's a question for you. What sort of annual gold production do you anticipate?
Well, it's not a massive producer at this point. It's small scale. So it's 125 ton a day, a half ounce. We're looking at just over 20,000 ounces a year. But our all-in costs that we're looking at is we're estimating in around $900 Canadian. So when you look at the gold price today of 2,400 or 20, it's fluctuating in and around there. This could be extremely profitable for the company. So although it is not a big producer, it is a good cash generator for us, and we hope to use that cash flow to help manage and advance the Brett, which is our big elephant in the company and our multi-million ounce target. And then we have assembled the rest of the mountain, so we want to do a little exploring around there eventually, but we want to get the Kenville up and running. So it's not a big project, but it is a very lucrative project for the company.
Okay, excellent. Are there any restrictions currently with the coronavirus with moving ahead on the projects?
There is some precautions that we need to take, but we brought in masks. We've got separate showers set up. We've brought in hand sanitizers. We've got a plan to deal with safety measures on site. So we've rolled out our own plan to work in this environment, and it is small, high-grade underground. So it's not like we have to send huge shifts together. Guys will be spatially distanced, and we'll have we've got a good plan to move that forward and be safe and keep everybody safe.
Excellent. Do you have, do the warrants have a force on them?
Now that is a good question. I'd have to check my memory. For the most part, all the recent warrants do not have a force on them as far as I'm aware.
I don't think.
Yeah, and I don't think there's any that we have left that do have forces on them at the moment.
So I got a couple of questions concerning the permitting status at the Kenville. If you could maybe just touch a little bit more on that.
Sure. So we had when we took over the project, we had a permit in place to do the 1,200 meter decline, and the plan was to start the decline, roll into a bulk sample, and then roll into a small mining permit. When we got through the project, BC was changing some of their regulations, and we were going to extend it for 2 years, but the Cranbrook's office asked us to just reapply for the whole permit. Lloyd has gone through the whole process twice before, in 2012 and again in 2014. We're applying for exactly the same things we've applied for before. We got caught up in the change in the government, so our permit application went to Victoria with everybody else and then came back to the Cranbrook office. We've now gone through some of the final stage. We're back on track. They've asked us to do just provide like a water management for surface water flow for some of the drilling, how the waters go. So we brought Massey Environmental back in just to do a tweak on that. All our baseline studies and everything's done. We're just providing, mine closure plan. We're going to put a plug, at the end of the 15 years, what are we going to do to close the portal off? We're going to put a mine plug in. So we're getting those drawings done up. When we have that all completed and done, and we've had our big call with the department. We've had all 13 different departments on the line with us. We've gone through all their concerns. So now we're just filling in the missing data, and then that'll be completed. And then I don't foresee any issues here. I think this is going to be a prominent model for a high grade, low environmental impact mine in southern BC that can make money, provide sustainable jobs. We've got a small impact. We're green energy. You know, I think we've got a phenomenal asset here. I believe that if this doesn't go into production, no project in BC will go into production for underground. And I think it'll be a a stage mark to show that you can go back to high grade underground mines in the province. So we are in it. We are just in the final stages of that, and due to the coronavirus and due to some changes in management within the permitting process in the province itself, it's set us back a little bit. But with that being said, we've moved forward on a couple other things. So there's some news coming, which I think everybody's going to be excited about. And I'm looking forward to getting some news out. We have not been idle on the ground, so I think you'll see our progress ramping up quite quickly here.
So I think just one last question from our attendees. Drilling starts in June and results would be expected when?
Once we start drilling, we've got a habit of drilling. We don't like to stop drilling. We want to keep drilling. So usually about 6 weeks after that, we should start to have a news flow of drilling. And then, so long as we continue throughout the season and we don't have any hiccups, we will continue, and I mean hiccups like, sometimes you can have, because it gets hot, sometimes you have to shut down equipment in the field and stuff like that. But bar any of those unforeseen obstacles, I think after about six to 8 weeks, we should have pretty steady news flow on drilling results coming out consistently all the way through till September, October, November, I would think.
Excellent. So thank you, Chris. That's all from me on the questions. I'm sure, Paul, you must have a couple of questions.
Just one, Chris. What's the cost of bringing the Kenville mine up to speed, or is it ready to go now?
So it's mostly for cash flow management, Paul, that we're looking at. We've got a full plan, and we've got a plan that if we were to spend $5 million, we'd complete the decline. We'd have 10,000 meters of definition drilling for everything blocked out, ready to go. And we'd have our first 5,000 ounces ready to take out. And we'd have the team completely trained, and we'd be running at 125 ton a day, ready to start mining half-ounce material at the end of that spend. So we've got two scenarios. One was doing the bulk sample during the process, and one's doing without the bulk sample. So if we don't take any gold out, and we do the decline, and we do all the drilling, and we have everything ready, and we have everybody trained, and we've got all the equipment paid for, and everything's going, we spend about $5 million. But after we spend that $5 million, our first 5,000 ounces are ready to come out, and our cost will be $900 an ounce. And our team will be ready to continue on doing 125 ton a day half ounce. I hope that makes sense to you. It's mostly, so it's not CapEx, it's mostly cash flow that we'd be looking at.
Oh, I got you. And one last thing, how long is the drill season there? Like, when do you stop drilling?
Well, we've gotten into October and November. It just depends how the winter holds up. But we have gone right into November.
And the June start date is because of the weather, like the ground conditions?
No, I would have started earlier, except that we've had this virus.
Right, so you can get in there earlier.
Yeah, we can get in there early. We've been waiting to go, itching to go. We just finally said, okay, we got a plan. We know what we want to do. We had to go and get masks and everybody. We got had to organize some of the, had to organize a plan in order to initiate this, right? And so now we feel comfortable with it. So.
Perfect. Anyway, Chris, thank you very much for the presentation today. I'm sure everybody enjoyed it, and we're looking forward to your future press releases, shall we say.
Great. Thank you. Thanks for your time, everybody.
All right. Take care. Thanks so much, Chris. Appreciate it.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.